Welcome to Belief, Being, and Beyond with your host, Granddaughter Crow. Hi, everybody. Granddaughter Crow here for yet another episode of Belief, Being, and Beyond. As you know, I love to bring different belief systems to the table. Ask those questions that we might be afraid to ask for the listening audience, as well as understand that different belief systems constitutes how we behave in the world, our beingness, but there's always something more. There's always something beyond. And today I have a wonderful guest. We are going to be looking at more Eastern medicine. I'm really excited about bringing Molly to the table. Let me give you a little bit of insight about Molly. So, Molly Dyer is a licensed acupuncturist and is the founder of Light and Dark Acupuncture and apothecary and tappy feet. We'll get into that. She blends deep healing with hands-on care, balancing classic wisdom with modern herbal approaches. That sounds like something that we really need. Certified by the International Traditional Chinese Dermatology Association, ITCMDA, right? YMCA. She specializes, obviously, you can tell I'm very comfortable with my friend Molly. She specializes in treating acne, eczema, and psoriasis, among a lot of other skin conditions, through traditional Chinese medicine. She also holds an international certificate in traditional Chinese medicine pediatrics, which allows her to provide expert dermatological care for all ages, as well as through tappy feet. Yes, tappy feet. She connects adults through joy, laughter, movement, and creativity in her tap dancing classes. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to what me and my husband call Miracle Molly. Say hi to everyone, Molly.
Hi,
I
thanks for
love,
having me here.
oh gosh, I've been looking forward to it. I've known you for forever. How many years? 15 years? How many years?
Well, yeah, probably 15 because we met right after I think, or right before I started acupuncture school, and I'm going on a 10-year career in acupuncture now. And acupuncture school was 4 years long, so it
Yes,
was right at 15 or so.
I love it. I absolutely love it. So, in our discussion, I'd kind of like to ask very general questions. And I'll just be honest, there's a lot of strangeness in our atmosphere, I'll call it, to, whether it's economic, social justice, lack of social justice, all of that. But there's also concerns within the medical industry and pharmaceuticals and insurance. We won't go there, but all know what we're talking about. And yet, that's all Western medicine. And Western medicine and Eastern medicine. Can you give us a little bit of a breakdown about your thoughts on each one and when to use each one or what that looks like?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a doctor, but my dad is a doctor. So when you say I know Western medicine, I know it because I grew up around it. I've used it my whole life. Um, I'm I I have good doctors and I discuss my health with them openly. I've had not good doctors before too.
Right.
Um, so I think, and I think that Western medicine is something that's really good to be used, when there is sort of an emergency or something that really requires medication. And one of the things I love about Eastern medicine is that there are sometimes there's the possibility that you don't have to take a medication for something because it's not gonna ruin your life to try an alternative medicine option for that particular disorder, whatever it may be. And in those cases, Eastern medicine is great because it can sometimes keep you off of having to go on more medications, which eventually when you're on several medications, you may have interactions between those medications or they may cause different side effects. So I think that one of the best times to use Eastern medicine is when you can safely do so without putting yourself at risk. It's not required that you go to the Western medication for life-sustaining reasons.
I love it. So you kind of do a blend of both.
Well, no, I don't practice
I
Western
mean,
medicine.
no, I mean the way that you approach is recommended to kind of do a blend of both.
Yeah, okay, well, I've got kind of a diverse group of people that come into me. I've got some people that really try to avoid going to the doctor, and a lot of times I can help them. Most of the time, those are people who have a chronic disorder, and it's true that chronic disorders, there's not there's not as many good solutions in Western medicine for chronic disease. Um, and if they're avoiding going to the doctor, there are a few times where I wish they would go because I kind of want to know what the diagnosis would be because it does inform me from an Eastern medicine perspective. But, you know, I will let a person know if I think that that might be the best possibility. Especially if I see something that I call a red flag, where it's like, this is an emergency referral. You need to go to the doctor now. Then I send them that way. But I also have a lot of people that just work integratively between coming to see me and going to their regular doctor. So I get a little bit of, both.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I agree. I mean, going to like in my experience, going to a Western doctor, it's kind of like they're like, there's a problem, here's a solution, and it has side effects. But when I go and whether I'm with my husband or have been on a visit with just us two due to my menopause or whatever, these types of things, you're like looking at my tongue and you're listening and you're like, oh, well, how are your feet? And I'm like, no, I'm telling you, I'm like breaking into cold sweats. And you're like, well, are you drinking dark liquids? Like maybe, I'm just like, so you look at it from like a totally like different lens of the holistic as though I'm one body moving together, which I suppose I am. And I really appreciate that. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, you're describing something that my clients say to me a lot, which is like, I feel heard when I come here. We get to sit down and talk. It's not a rush. I'm not I'm not accepting insurance in my client, which has its pros and cons, but the pros are I don't have to be on this strict, quick timeline of seeing people every 15 or 20 minutes, um, which I don't suppose every doctor is on, but many are. And um, you're describing also this holistic way that we practice in Eastern medicine, which is just what makes it the most beautiful way of practicing medicine.
Yeah.
We do look at the body, mind, and spirit and how they connect. In fact, I've worked with recently a child whose mother was like, you're saying that these two things are connected. I've always thought they were connected, and doctors just they don't believe they're connected. And sure enough, there's a link. I mean, we're very good at finding how things are connected in Eastern medicine. So, we do practice from a holistic mindset and we use a whole different diagnostic system, which is why it's so helpful because a lot of times people have gone to the doctor and the doctor continues to either say, I don't know what it is, or you've done all the tests and you test great for everything, but you still have symptoms. And so they don't know, they give you maybe a diagnosis like, IBS is a diagnosis sometimes when there's no diagnosis to be had, and so in that situation, um, I think Eastern medicine's really helpful because I kind of think of those people as people who have fallen through the cracks. Like Western medicine had no answers for them and they don't know how to help them. but I have a different diagnostic technique I'm going to use to diagnose what the imbalance is that's occurring. And so I might catch something that Western medicine didn't catch using that diagnostic system.
Love that because it just reminds me of, I'm a shamanic practitioner. I talk a lot about the four bodies of existence, physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And so when I kind of look at somebody, I'm looking at, oh, your emotions are down. Is that due to your thoughts or is it due to your a lack of chemical imbalance in your body? Yeah, all of that. So I can dig it. So here's a question for you. Why did you name your practice Light and Dark Acupuncture and Apothecary?
So it's sort of the conglomeration of a few things. And the first one is that my birthday is the winter solstice. And many years ago, a wise woman I know named Granddaughter Crow told me that businesses also have a birth chart, and that if I want to choose a very special day for my business to be born, then I can make it intentional what day I birth my business by making a very specific action on that day. So I purchased my LLC on the summer solstice. So that's one of the reasons it's light and dark acupuncture. And I did that to provide balance. And in Chinese medicine, we're always talking about the balance between yin and yang. I say yang. That's how we learned it in Chinese medicine school. I know most people say yin and yang. But at any rate, we're always looking at the balance between yin and yang, which, are opposing forces, which are both necessary and required. And the other thing that it is about is that um, I think your audience will understand if I say I'm a Sagittarius, and I historically was very much a silver lining person. Like I like being happy. I like helping people feel hopeful, and I'm really good at that. But I was not automatically very good at sitting with pain, with painful moments and challenge. And a lot of the medicine that I practice is doing just that. So
Right.
yeah, I had to get much better at it. And I think at the time that I went to acupuncture school, I was dating and then married my partner who is very good at sitting with challenge in a person's condition or in their spirit. And I feel like through her and through acupuncture school, I learned so much about being present with the darker, harder, tougher times that we go through. And I think that they're just as important, as you've written many books about. They're just as important as the times where we feel hopeful and light and so light and dark acupuncture, my saying is it's not love and light acupuncture, it's light and dark acupuncture for a reason.
I love that because it's just like the day and the night, the winter and the summer solstice. It's the balance of the yin and the yang. And I think that, again, from my shamanistic point of view, imbalance causes discomfort and disease. Balance is good. So it's a very basic thing. And so I want to make sure that we take time to talk about your focus, which is dermatology and how you got there. But I also, okay, it's a little intimidating. I'm Granddaughter Crow, author, blah, 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 blah. If I were to walk into an herb shop or a kiosk or an apothecary, I'd feel kind of intimidated because I'd be like, well, I got a headache. What do I do? Are you gonna give me like lemon root or, I mean, what can you kind of take the intimidation factor off so that people feel a little bit more equipped to know what to say or to understand play by play. What does it look like in most apothecaries or in yours or your herb kiosk?
Yeah. So my apothecary is actually not open to the public. It's by appointment only, which I don't know, it might not be that way forever, but um, the reason it's by appointment only right now is that I prescribe every herb that goes out the door here. So I do that because I think that people sometimes pick up the wrong thing. Like they don't understand, like there are, maybe 5 different diagnoses that you could have for acne in Chinese medicine. And you read online that such and such herb is good for acne, and you go and pick it up and you're so excited, but like that's not the right herb for your acne. So what you need in that situation is for someone to diagnose you and prescribe you the correct herb for that condition. Now, there's lots of herbal medicine you can do at home that's easy and fun and experimental and okay to do at home, but when it comes to more severe conditions, you may as well hire somebody who's studied herbs. So I guess I would say, in terms of feeling intimidated, like, please don't. Like, please just say what it is you need, because that's what I did my training to be able to help you with. Like, I hope you'll come to me and say, honestly, I'm really embarrassed to say this, but I have this weird symptom that everyone doesn't take seriously. And I just want to tell you what it is. And like everything means something in Chinese medicine. There's no that doesn't exist. It's like if you noticed it, it exists. Like I had a person say, it's weird. When I run, I hear a clicking in my right ear. And it's like, that, okay, what does that mean? That means some like hardened crystals in the right ear. That means some, lack of flow through the right ear. I have herbs that guide to the right ear. So, I guess what I would say is, first of all, don't be intimidated to hire an herbalist, even if you know some about herbs, because how you practice with herbs at home is different than how you might take herbs for a specific condition. And then to understand what it looks like, I can speak from my own clinic. I can't really speak for all the other herbalists out there. I imagine that if you're somewhere else in the world watching this and you were to go to an herbalist in your community, it would be something kind of similar to what I'm about to describe, but maybe slightly different. So for me, I like to speak with people on the phone first, because um, usually herbal therapy requires more consistency than people realize, or they have questions about what it's going to cost, or I need to make sure that they can take the herbs that I'm going to be prescribing before I even bring them in and, get started with them. I don't see the point of pulling them in here for an hour-long appointment or 90-minute appointment, and then they um, can't take the herbs. So I try to kind of figure that stuff out in a phone call that's free. I do free phone consults. And then after we've done the free phone consult, I make a recommendation for how often I'd like to see them and for how long. And we set up their initial session. And the initial session, they come in and we just talk about their whole health history and what's going on. And because I specialize in dermatology, I always take photos so that I've got some before photos that I can compare with some after photos after we've been treating it for a while. And then, I'm also an acupuncturist. So some people opt to do acupuncture alongside their herbal therapy, and some people opt for just an herbal consultation. So if we did an herbal consultation, we'd just be chatting the whole time. But if we did acupuncture, they would rest and lay there with the acupuncture needles for a while I put together their herbs.
I love
And
that.
so, yeah, so we go over their symptoms and I ask clarifying questions, and I do things like you mentioned, like take their pulse and look at their tongue. And that gives me an idea of what their imbalance is. And then I give them a second to just chill in the room, either with acupuncture needles or not. And I go make their herbal formula.
I love that. And so you guys check out Molly online lightanddarkacu.com. So that's light, Light, and AND, dark, DARK, ACU.com. You can also follow Molly on social media at that same address, Light and Dark ACU. If you're enjoying the Belief Being and Beyond podcast and would like to support it, I'm on Patreon. Just go to Patreon, Granddaughter Crow, or you can find it at granddaughtercrow.com. Thank you so much. So you right now serve like the Denver metro area here in Colorado. Is that
That's
correct?
right.
Yeah,
That's
but
right.
what it would you ever like mail outside of Colorado, or is that something where it's just you're here and you need to see us?
So my license covers me treating only in Colorado. So I
Gotcha.
don't work with people outside of Colorado. And I do sometimes ship herbs to other areas in Colorado. Actually, there is a rule that says that if you establish care with me in Colorado, that then you can come to me. So I do have a couple clients who have come to me first in Colorado and then live elsewhere.
Nice.
But yeah, so I do ship herbs sometimes.
I love that. I love that. And I love what you have to say. So you've been doing this for a decade after school, and you are what I love about Molly is she's very approachable. I mean, as well as serious and yet lighthearted. So she takes everything that you say and she considers it that's what I love about the light and dark. So just recently you decided that your passion is a little bit more in the dermatology or dermatological. I mean, how do you say that?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
You said it right. It's more
Yay.
a dermatology herbalism. Yeah.
Yeah, and so give us a couple of, why I moved to this specialty, and like what makes you so excited about that aspect?
Yeah. Well, my partner loves to tease me because I long ago stopped doing very much to care for my skin at all. And I'm going to say that right up front because it is actually part of why I am so passionate about this. One of the things that was just really overwhelming to me was like, there's all kinds of bad things in cosmetics. And I stopped wearing makeup. Now, I don't have a problem with anyone wearing makeup, but I wanted the most natural options, for me. Like that's what I wanted. So that's one reason that I was interested in dermatology. But I would say I stumbled upon it a little bit. There's a really well-known Chinese dermatology herbalist, who teaches a really advanced course on dermatology herbalism and allows you to get certified with the International Traditional Chinese Medicine Dermatology Association. And after you take his course. And I took his course because I happened to pop onto one webinar where he was describing different skin conditions. And I thought it might be interesting because I treat a lot of children and a lot of children have eczema. And I knew he was going to go over eczema. So I thought this might be really good for my practice. So I hopped on that webinar and my gosh, I mean, it blew my mind. Like it was watching just completely red, dry, flaking skin become completely normal. And you could see it in the photos. And so to watch that big change and to know that I already use herbs, I already know how to use herbs, I could do that too. That was something that sort of enticed me to take his bigger course. And when I went to his bigger course, one of the big lessons that I learned is I think, like an herbalist, everything that came out of his mouth, I already understood it. Like it was like my language. And I don't have a great memory. I don't remember anything except for herbs. I remember herbs. Like I remember like every detail about every little herb that he said. Like this herb is really good for folliculitis, or this combo of herbs is really good for folliculitis. Like I remember that. I'm like, oh, that person has folliculitis. I better put in Lian Chow and Jin Yin Hua, So it just, that's how my brain works. And I realized like, this is kind of my gift. Um, and so I would say that's one reason I got really excited about it. And it was for me very satisfying because visually I can see how much impact I've created. Do
Right.
you realize like if I'm treating anxiety or digestion or pain, like it's all just coming from a person's perspective, mostly subjective information about how well we've done. But when I clear someone's skin, like I can see how well we've done. So that's really satisfying. So those are some reasons, but getting into it and doing his training, one of the reasons I became really passionate about it is because there's a lack of great options in
Right.
Western dermatology. There's just a huge lack of great pharmaceuticals for skin conditions. Most skin conditions end up with a need for antibiotics or steroids. Um, in some cases, those can clear a skin condition. In some cases, they can make it worse, such as in the example of topical steroid withdrawal, which is an awful thing for people to experience. It's really, truly, it's like hell on earth for these people that experience topical steroid withdrawal. And then, or sometimes it just sort of covers it like a band-aid and then it just comes back if you stop taking the meds.
Right. Right.
And there's just a lot of cases of people falling through the cracks, like I mentioned before. So I found passion for helping a group of people that I know there are just a ton of sort of falling through the cracks because there's just not great options. So that's another reason that I got into it. And I would say maybe the third reason is because I'm just so passionate about herbs. So, I like acupuncture. I've always liked acupuncture. It's fun, but it doesn't do the same thing for me as building an herbal formula, you know, which is just that's my creative genius.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. So I have an odd question sideball. Okay, so since acupuncture and herbalist and Eastern medicine just in a blanket kind of looks at a holistic side of a person, then would it be safe to say that somebody comes in for eczema, acne, and you give them a formula, and then they come back and report not only that it's clearing up, but that other positive changes have happened, maybe digestively or lack of fog brain? Am I reaching or am I being psychic?
So definitely like,
Or logical,
there's
logical, yeah.
there's like a definite connection between the gut and the skin. And actually, one of the reasons I love Chinese herbal medicine, like specifically Chinese herbal medicine, is because of the long history of using herbs for dermatological issues and other issues. And um, there were concepts that were written in a book that's almost, I mean, it's probably 2,100 years ago. So over 2,000 years ago, there was a book written that talked about the basics of yin and yang and in that book, they talked about how the skin reflects the inside of the body. And it does. It tells me everything I need to know. That was another reason I took his training. I thought, oh, this will help my diagnostics. Like if I can see something on the skin and I'm not 100% sure what the diagnosis is, then that might help me confirm what's going on with a person. Oh my gosh, did it ever?
Right.
Like, I really, really understand now what the skin is telling me. Um, Probably have better skin diagnostic skills than I do pulse taking skills as a Chinese medicine practitioner, probably. Um, and so that is the kind of thing that is very common where you'll see somebody with sleep challenges and the herbal formulas that we formulate are for their skin, but their sleep clears up. Actually, it's intentional because when someone comes in, I ask them about their skin and I take photos of it, but I ask them about all these different systems, their digestion, their sleep, um, their heat level, or do they sweat? Do they not sweat? And where I identify imbalances, I add herbs for those things because those imbalances are related to why their skin is showing up the way it's showing up.
Wow.
So it's on purpose. And really, as we go through the course of treatment, I adjust the formula several times, either to sort of keep the skin guessing so that it doesn't get used to the herbs, or to um, sort of help the change the phase of healing that the person is in, so that the herbal formula needs to reflect what phase of healing the person is in. And so as I go about making those tweaks and adjustments, I'm always asking, like, you know, did this mess with your bowels? Like, did this, impact your sleep or anything like that? And I put in herbs to balance whatever is out of balance, if it's necessary.
It. I absolutely love it. So, you guys check out if you are here in the Denver metro area. And she really, her office is and her clinic is pretty close to DIA. So, if you want to fly in to Denver, Colorado, look up Light and Dark acu.com and book with Molly on the phone and then go and see her. It will be a delight. So, let's shift gears, twirl around, skirty over. I don't know how to introduce this. Tappy Feet, mytappyfeet.com. What are you doing? What are you teaching?
Okay. Tappy feet is my just side passion. It's my joy. I teach only adult tap dance classes, and it's called Tappy Feet, and everyone thinks it's kids because it's called Tappy Feet, but it's because as adults, we just really have to get out of our heads and forget about stuff for a minute and just have a good time and connect with our own joy and connect with other people and move our bodies. And Tappy Feet is adult tap dance classes. We have beginner, intermediate, and advanced classes, and we have so much fun. And the classes have been growing and growing and growing. And somebody said to me the other day, she said, Molly, I just love coming in here because there are so many, these classes are getting so big. This is needed. And just to hear her say it like that, these classes are so fun because there's so many people, and it's so obvious that we need this. So yeah, Tappy Feet is just a really good time, is what it is. And I've got an excellent community of tap dancers who are just some of my favorite people on earth. They're just all so sweet. And we go in there, we dance, we have a good time. We try to grow also and learn, and build skills, and um, we nerd out about Black history because tap history is Black history. And we love to hear about, famous tap masters in history who really made an impact in the field of tap dance, including this particular Black History Month. I've really been focusing on women of color because, like, really what happened in tap history is a lot of women ended up in the chorus line. So they weren't the stars of the shows, but a lot of them were really, really very good at what they do. But their talent was sort of passed over because it was a male dominated field, which is so funny because right now we might think it's a female dominated field, but it was a male dominated field. Dance, I think in general, well, I guess you can't say that for all styles of dance, but definitely tap dance. And so this particular year for Black History Month, I've been highlighting Black women who were famous tap dancers in history. So that's a fun thing that we do together. Yeah, it's just a ton of fun.
I absolutely love that. So, tap dancing, like when you were little, did you get into it? Like, how did you decide on, because that's such a unique, like, I mean, you said that, tappy feet, people think children, and I'm like, inner child. This is for your inner child. Absolutely. Your body needs to be over 21, but your inner child needs to be about 4. So, can you tell us how did you get into tap dancing and a little bit more about where you found it?
I think I tap danced one semester when I was in like sixth grade or something. Yeah, that's it. And then I was just taking like a dance class, like a combo dance class, which is really common. Um, but I didn't get into tap dance right away. I was a percussionist in high school and I played drums in the drum line and I played piano. I played piano all growing up. And so when I went to college, I decided to major in theater, and I wanted to be a triple threat. A triple threat is where you're a really good singer, a really good actor, and a really good dancer. Yeah.
Yes.
And I was not a triple threat at all. Like I don't even it was really not the right field for me. It was an excellent experience. I learned a lot and it got me introduced to tap dance. So the place where I went to college in Gunnison, Colorado, they had something called the Gunnison Arts Center there. And I did a lot of like just, community theater through them. And I also took a lot of dance classes. And it was not long after starting tap and becoming really, really obsessed with it that I started teaching tap to little kids because I'm a percussionist and it just made sense.
Right.
Your body is, um, it's tap dance is aesthetically pleasing. You watch a tap dancer and you're watching how they perform, but also it's rhythmically pleasing. And as a tap dancer, it's aesthetically challenging and rhythmically challenging. And so that's kind of a fun thing to teach yourself to both think about how you look and also how you sound at the same time.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And that also, you guys gives a really good work-life balance, yin and yang, day and night. Day you do dermatology, herbology, and night you put on your tap shoes and you give us a show and teach others how to have fun. I
I
love
will
that.
I will say, as I've been in this career for a long time and gotten busier and busier, I grew a lot for a long time. I grew and grew and grew. And then I just was tired. I was doing way too much. So I started doing less and I really appreciated doing less and I did less and less and less. And every single time I did one less thing, I felt better. And Tappy Feet was never on the chopping block because that gives me energy. Because having a good time, doing something I love, it gives me energy. So I work long, long days because I'm here till late for people who need after work hours. Um, on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. But I teach dance on Monday and Wednesday. So I come home even later on Monday and Wednesday. So, but it's never been on the chopping block because I don't need less of that in my life. I need more of it. Sometimes I think maybe I could fit one more class in. Maybe I could teach one more class. And then my partner says, with what time? Like when would you teach another class? Um, but I need more of it in my life. It's just really positive and fun.
I love that. So I'm about ready to ask you if there's anything else that you want to say, but while you're thinking about that, people, this is a really good reminder that a lot of times in our lives, we think that more is better and more accomplishes more, brings us more, whatever. But sometimes less is more. And so when you think about what you are spending your resources on, not just money, but your time, your thoughts, your heart, Is it giving back to you? Does it make it you happy? Does it bring you energy? Or are you just over expending because of the narrative that do more, do more, do more? So thank you for that reminder. So Molly, what is there anything else that you just want to share with the listening audience?
Yeah, I want to respond to what you just said, and I have one other thing that I could share real quick, and that is
Absolutely.
um, we live in a very adrenaline based society, and learning Eastern medicine is all about learning how you balance, the active side of your nervous system with the restful side of your nervous system in order to promote better resilience in your body. And so it for me has been this long lesson in how do I do less because all I've been doing my whole life is more and more and more and more. Some of that is being a Sagittarian, and some of that is just being an American, an American, a member of my community, and somebody who likes to help people. I always take on more and more and more, and I have been clearing out space in my life, and it has been the biggest gift. In fact, I didn't even ask for it a few times. Something happened where I all of a sudden had more space, and I realized, wow, oh, this is great. Like, I'm going to keep doing this on purpose. So yes, I think that's a big one. And the only other thing I wanted to add is why you might be interested in purchasing herbs through an herbalist versus something you can find like a supplement in the grocery store,
Yeah.
and especially through a Chinese herbalist. So actually, in the US, herbs are regulated as a food supplement. And in China, they're regulated as a pharmaceutical. So they're actually tested and have much higher compliance for their, or much more rigorous testing for their good manufacturing practices that they have to follow in China than here in the US, just because of the way that they regulate herbs over there. And they're a huge exporter of herbs, so they have to be very careful about the quality of their herbs. So they're very high quality. And the other reason is, if you hire an herbalist, we talked about, an herbalist will help get the right herb for you. And one of the things we do as we go along the process is we tweak that formula based on where you're at so that it'll continue to work well. So I would say sometimes like there's little things that you can pick up an herb at the grocery store for. But when you have a more complex disorder, you're gonna save money by hiring somebody who knows what they're doing. Hopefully, long term, you're gonna have less side effects because you're working with a professional. And long term, you're gonna have better end results because you're working with somebody who diagnosed you and chose the right herbal formula. So yeah, one of the biggest takeaways I wanted to say was that it's not always important to hire an herbalist for every single little thing, but there are some scenarios where it's really good to hire an herbalist because you're going to save your money and you're going to get better results and you're going to, get have a better opportunity to heal. So that's my
Love it.
feedback. That's my 2 cents.
I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. So, Molly, thank you so much for bringing us beyond in our thinking about medicine as well as balance within our self, within our life, etc. I just really appreciate you being here on the show.
I really appreciate you too.
Yay! So, thank you, everyone. Thanks for tuning in yet again to another episode of Belief Being and Beyond. Like, subscribe, hit all the bells and whistles so that you don't miss an episode. Please, if there is somebody who's like, oh, well, I kind of want to know about herbs, Send this to them. Send this to them. We bring you a plethora of different belief systems and approaches to life, and I ask the questions for you. If you have a specific topic or question that you want me to ask for you, text the show. Scroll down. If you're listening to this on a podcast, if you're on YouTube, just comment, but scroll down, text the show. I will get your text. Won't know your phone number. I'll know your vicinity, won't know your name. So you can be anonymous or you can be my new best friend. So anyway, thank you everyone. I love ya. See you on the flippity flip.